things accomplished, and Preston has to go the extra mile for the people who can't ride a bike on their own and get a bike with an extra seat, so that truly everybody can experience how wonderful and delightful it is. So without further ado, everybody give it up for Preston.
Good evening.
Good evening. Howdy.
I love it when people sit up here and talk about being old. I've been riding bicycles for 75 years. And I'm not done yet. But I have a story about, as the introduction said, a guy who couldn't ride on his own. I've had the opportunity to ride with blind riders. You can do it too, by the way. The Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired has a program called Lend Your Legs. Yeah, they have tandems and you can ride the front. And somebody who can't see well can ride the back. So let me tell you a story about Jimmy Hudson. Jimmy's an interesting guy. He started life as a newspaper reporter, became very involved and went to Paris, France, and wrote for the New York Herald Tribune in Paris, France. Found the love of his life, got married, came back to the U.S. and started to lose his sight through macular degeneration. I'm not sure you're familiar with that, but it means this is gone, but this maybe is still there. And that's what happened with Jimmy. Jimmy was a big man. He had boxed semi-pro heavyweight, and I've gained some weight, but I'm not that big. So the reason I talk about Jimmy is because I was reading the Southwest Cycling News. How many remember the Southwest Cycling News? Yeah. Some of the older folks in the neighborhood. Yes, there we go. Southwest Cycling News was the Austin cycling newspaper that went all over the Southwest. And I saw an ad in the bottom of the Southwest Cyclist News, and it said, "Blind cyclist has a tandem, needs a captain." You remember that, Lee? Yeah. And I thought, oh, how hard could that be? You know, I'd never ridden a tandem, but you know, come on, yeah, we can do that. So I contacted Jimmy, and he said, well, come on over, let's talk and everything else. So I get over to Jimmy's house, and he has got this pile of junk. It really was a terrible tandem. And Jimmy lived on a hill. Okay? So we could come out of the driveway and go up, or we could come out of the driveway and go down. And I didn't want to do either one of them with that tandem. So I said, Jimmy, I'll make you a deal. Let's go out in the country where it's nice and flat out in east of Austin and ride a little bit and see how it works, see how this works out. So we did that. I got a rack that fit the tandem. We got out to the east of Austin, rode some of those beautiful rolling countryside out there. First day out, we rode 17 miles and Jimmy was finished. And I said, Jimmy, this looks pretty good. I think I can ride with you, but you've got to make a commitment to you. This is August. It says your commitment is that you will ride from Houston to Austin next April. If you commit to that, I'll ride with you, but you have to buy a new bike. Jimmy says, are you kidding me? Houston to Austin? How long is that? I said, well, you got 2 days to do it, Jimmy. It's only 182 miles. Come on. He finally said yes, bought a new bike, a Co-Motion with everything on it. I mean, it was beautiful. So we started riding together. And Jimmy had a lot of people that rode with him during that time. It was interesting because typically on a tandem, how many of you ride tandems? Typically on a tandem, who gets in the front? It's the big guy, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm fairly big, but Jimmy and I together with the bike was over 400 pounds. Okay, so it was a haul. But Jimmy was amazingly strong. So we got together and we decided to do that. And we rode a lot, and Jimmy had some other captains. He had one captain who was a young female Army officer, probably weighed 110 pounds, and she rode with Jimmy on that tandem, and it was pretty impressive. I've ridden with other blind riders. Once I rode with Jimmy, I said, hey, can I do something else? So I found some people. One was an Olympic quality blind rider. He said, how does that work? Well, he rides with an Olympic quality sighted rider, and they ride in the game. We went very, very fast. I was not his quality, believe me, but we went very, very fast. And I've ridden, as I said, with injured legs. And then I found a man up in Minneapolis. He and his wife were both blind and both rode. And we rode tandems in Minneapolis, and I missed a light. And he says, oh, don't worry about it. Just go up another block and turn left. We'll get back to the hill. And I said, hill? He says, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll get on and we'll make it up the hill. He knew the course so well and the town so well that he didn't have to see to know where we were. So I'm beginning to understand a little bit more about somebody, an unsighted rider. So guess what? We went down to Houston, got on the bus, went to Houston. They got the tandem down there, got on that bike in Houston, and rode to LaGrange. This was back when it used to go Houston, LaGrange, LaGrange, Austin. We got to LaGrange, and Jimmy said, what does the odometer say? Jimmy can't tell. I could have lied to him, right? I said, 98 miles, Jimmy. Said, turn it around. I've come this far. We're going to make my first century. So guess what? Turn it around, head back out. Here's all the crowd coming in, right? You know, that ride in those days was starting 15,000 riders out of Memorial High. And we were going in counter to that. So we went out about 2 miles because I wasn't about to come back in and say 99, Jimmy. So we turned around, came back in. We got 101 miles that first day. Jimmy's first century. And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. Riding with Jimmy taught me a lot about being aware. Because when you're riding with somebody behind you who can't see what's going on, you have to be on all the time. You know, I used to, on my bike, I'll zone out and just kind of cruise. Sorry. Every bump, every turn, everything that's going on, you have to talk. So one time we were riding along and I saw a dog on the side of the road and I thought, okay, that's neat, dog on the side of the road. I didn't say, hey, there's a dog up there, Jimmy. And when that dog ran out right next to Jimmy's leg and started barking, Jimmy lifted me out of my seat and almost over the handlebars. I told you he was a big guy. And when he jumped on those pedals, it just really came loose. But there were times when Jimmy would see just around the edges. And I would heard him one day, he says, are we going by a field of bluebonnets? Oh, Jimmy, yes we are. And it just reminded me that I need to keep talking. Jimmy is a hawk up to our right in the sky, and he's following us. He's just cruising along up there, and he's just so beautiful, Jimmy. He's just up there just cruising, and he knows we're here. And that's the way I talk with Jimmy. One time I'm coming down a long hill. You really got to be on. I'm coming down a long hill, and Jimmy was so big that if Jimmy didn't lean, we didn't turn. It was that simple, you know? And so we're coming down the hill, and I said, Jimmy, we got a turn coming up. When I tell you, I want you to lean. And I heard this voice say, which way, damn it? And so I learned a lesson about how to talk with Jimmy, is I had to give him all the information he needed. And Jimmy was an amazing rider. We did the MS 150 twice together. And we probably rode 5,000-6,000 miles together. And it was just a delight to ride with Jimmy. We were coming into Buda one day, and I don't know if you know Buda, but there's some nice little rollers coming into Buda. And we'd power up the hills and then come over the top of the hill, and we would spin down those hills and go. And it was the greatest thing. And I looked at the odometer. We were running at 35 miles an hour. Jimmy was a big man, and he could push that bike. And it just, the joy of riding with Jimmy. If you get a chance, go talk to the school, the Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Lend your legs, get on a tandem, get out there and ride with those people, ride with those kids. You'll give them a chance to do something they may never get to do again. Thank you.